there's broken silence by thunder crashing in the dark, crash in the dark. And there's broken records spinning less circles in the bar, spin round in the bar. This world can hurt you, it cuts you deep.
1600 metres, great race in Crosby. Racing now.
But it is Madison County. Two goods. Madison County back-to-back Group 1s.
We'll leave each other cold as ice and high and dry. The desert wind is blowing, it's blowing. Remember what you said to me, you were drunk in love in Tennessee, and I hold it, we both know it.
Kia ora, Morena race fans. Welcome to Weigh In. Now, I know it feels like the summer holidays are already over, but wait, don't panic. The Wellington Cup Carnival has only just started, and we'll be covering it off on the program this morning, as well as the 100% billboard for Heartland Racing New Zealand, Kamara, from yesterday. On the panel, she used to be a jockey, but now she's an apprentice front person on television, Alicia Collett. Welcome in again.
Thank you, it's good to be here.
Looking good after Trentham yesterday. And he used to be Big Bird, but now he's a racing analyst extraordinaire. Bruce Sherwin, how are you, mate?
Yeah, good.
How are you coping with that new website, the punting?
Don't start.
Well, more on that later. More on that later. Also later on, we'll be bouncing our satellite and link off the new satellite that we've placed on the moon, on the far side of the moon, and beaming it in hopefully to somewhere on the probably hungover West Coast, and catch up with McGearan there. Yesterday's racing, it was chalk and cheese, I suppose, in the sense that we had the Group 1 stuff at Trentham and the, as I say, the Heartland racing at Kamara. Ironically, 8,000 people at Kamara, Alicia, and how many do you reckon were at Wellington?
Yeah, I looked up in the crowds probably when the feature races are on, and you could probably only see the, basically probably the owners there. So I'm really hoping next week Wellington Cup really brings in the people.
This was magic though, wasn't it?
That
Magic?
wasn't Wellington.
No, that wasn't Wellington.
No.
This is
That's an extraordinary setting, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, there's gold in those hills somewhere, but those race days are gold, and here's the owners at Wellington. Is it just the, you know, just a bit too much racing in the you know, the centres, the main centres just don't need to have racing much at this time of the year, Bruce, you think, or what?
Well, that was a great race day yesterday in terms of the horses that turned up, but it's just very hard to attract horses, crowd numbers outside of those iconic type race days. The big days and the carnivals attract the crowds, but there's the first day of the Wellington Cup Carnival.
I'm also concerned about the number of horses turning up, even at Trentham yesterday. They were a wee bit light for a premium day. Always light on the coast, but even lighter than normal over there too.
Yeah, some of the rating races didn't have as many numbers as I thought they would. You'd probably see more on a Thursday field at Aupuni or something like that. So with the stakes money that was up, you probably would hope that there would have been more.
So a wow crowd at Kamara and a ho-hum crowd at Trentham, but the racing at Trentham was supersonic. Let's go to the first of our races we're going to cover today, which of course is the Levin Classic, now at Trentham. And I suppose the filly got to the front early in the piece, and she went out and went hell for leather, and the favourites generally got into trouble or traffic problems. As you can see on the home bend, they were bouncing off each other looking for room. The filly starting to fade, the winning run coming in the China horse colours in the centre of the track for Matty Cameron, barging his way out on the pre-race favourite Madison County.
Falls down the outside, 150 metres to go. Madison County sprinting, Hypnos after it. Lincoln Falls wider, and Vernon Me the inside. But it is Madison County. Two goods. Madison County back-to-back Group 1s.
Always good to see your Group 1 horses back to form, and Madison County from the inside gate probably ended up where we expected, 3 and 4 back on the inside. Tempo wasn't anything startling. Espresso Martini getting across quite easily there with Can't Stop the Feeling. They've come home 33.69, so it has been a sprint home, which adds merit to those that have finished in the placings. Madison County probably off the 2-month spell. I would think he would have been coming in about 85–90%, so a slowly run race is probably helpful going forward. He hasn't rated through the roof. He's 4 back on the inside in the China Horse Club colours. 2 is outside the dead heater for second, Hypnos, and just in front of them in the Hickman yellow is Vernon Me, who also dead heats for second. More Wonder's the horse to watch. He's following the favourite coming to the turn, Lisa All Press on More Wonder. Tried an inside run as The favourite comes out, Madison County, integral part of the race coming out because he's a little bit lucky to get the run. Just in front of him, Arrogant doesn't get the run. It's held up. Madison County comes out. Thankfully, Vernon Me in the yellow just shifts in slightly and it leaves a run for Madison County. Meantime, More Wonders in terrible trouble back in the pack, still looking for room in the Rogerson red. He's really unlucky. Madison County sprints through brilliantly, just might have peaked on it the last 100. A really good race this, but More Wonder, how unlucky was that, Alicia?
Yeah, she would have been absolutely holding her breath at the 300, and the last 200 metres, it was very obvious that the horse was really hitting its straps late. You'd hate to see what it would have done if it got out at the 400. Would it have won by 2 or 3, or, you know, there's a lot of questions that are unanswered.
I think if he gets that inside run, he would have won.
Yes.
Yeah. What would you, I mean, we'll see what Lisa Aubrey says later in the beaten jockeys. But it just looks like that. I mean, initial look, just watching it on TV, you thought, oh, if you just waited a wee bit longer because it was obviously travelling. But just looking at that rear footage there, it shut up shop pretty quick in the home straight, didn't it? The gaps on there.
Yes, she originally had the run there that looks like it was about to open, and the horse in front just veered in front of her. And then obviously in her own mind then, that sort of situation that you want to get out of, that you don't trust the horse in front of you and you want to get to the clear space. And the way she was travelling though, she could do that. She could bring the horse right out, balance it and go again.
And I suppose the other mitigating factor, Bruce, is that horse isn't that easy to ride, is he? He's a wee bit
He has
all over
been
the
a trick,
place.
yeah. He can do things wrong, get a bit keen in his races as well. But good bunch of 3-year-olds. Like Madison County's rated through the roof in the spring. He hasn't rated as well yesterday. That's probably symptomatic of the way the race was run, slowly run with a sprint home. So it's never going to lend itself to a big speed rating. But Hypnos keeps improving. He comes out of that good Spirits or Beer race. Vernon Me improves with every step. He's a full brother to Shamrocker, half to Rock Diva. So when he gets out a bit further, he's going to be improving further. More Wonder, Arrogance unlucky. Lincoln Falls has gone really good.
Yeah. You got the feeling that he was almost there just for the practice, Madison County, and there's no question that the training feat to get him up for a Group 1 when you're probably thinking more about the $1 million race in a fortnight was something to behold yesterday.
Yeah, Andrew, what a brave performance from this horse. He's now a dual Group 1 winner, and he had to do it the tough way, really, didn't he?
Yeah, he's not very big, but he's all heart, like Tony alluded to. I think he was 4 back the fence, and in reality that's where he was always going to be. I sort of wanted to walk away halfway through the race. I just thought he had too much to do, and lucky Matt got the split. He was patient, that was the key, and you know, a horse that hasn't raced for a while, he just probably felt the pinch at the end, but he's very brave.
Yeah, even getting into that clear running, that wasn't just straightforward either.
No, it was a little bit niggly, but look, he's not a big horse, probably helps in a lot of situations. He's quite nimble and he was able to get there.
Yeah, he's done nothing wrong, this horse, hasn't he? He's now won 2 Group 1s, onto the Karaka Million 3-year-old Classic.
Yeah, provided he comes through this well. No reason he wouldn't. He'll improve a lot fitness-wise, having come off a break, and hopefully he's competitive there.
Yeah, and then test him over distance.
Yeah, might as well.
Matthew, halfway down the straight, you're looking for a clear run. Were you always confident you're going to get through?
Yeah, you know, like I wasn't overly confident, but, you know, I was putting a spot back further than I thought. I thought Arrogant might have gone a little bit quicker and gone up front further, but I got stuck behind them and kind of spaced a Hypnos outside me, and I knew that horse was one of the ones that's been going well. And as I come into the straight, I just had to look at my options, and a little gap presented itself. I knew I had the horse to wait for that extra 10, 15 metres to get out, and once he got out, he exploded, and he dawdled a little bit that last bit, so there is improvement there, which is kind of scary, but no, the team has done a great job with him.
Going back earlier in the race, you're back 4 back the fence on what didn't seem to be a red hot pace. What were you thinking at that point?
Yeah, well, I think I was a little bit vulnerable myself with the horse being a while since he raced, and he can over-race every now and then, so I wasn't in too much of a hurry to push him and hold my spot too much because I didn't want the horse to be undone, and I knew if I was a little bit further back than I wanted to be, then I have the best horse in the race, and he proved that today.
He's now a dual Group 1 winner. Where does he sit with you among the best 3-year-olds you've ridden?
Yeah, there's been some top 3-year-olds I've ridden, you know, the Guineas winner, Rock and Pop, all these kind of horses too, and he's right up there. Bonnevale, another filly, but extravagant, you know, they're all lining up, and but he's got to be in the top 2 at least, and you know, I think it's Bonnevale and him are the 2 at the moment.
Big rating there from Maddie Cameron, who sort of made it happen for the favourite, even though punters or backers would have probably had itchy fingers and tickets coming around the bend because it wasn't looking like it was going anything but pear-shaped for him turning for home. Stable that you love to be riding for so far this season, Alicia, isn't it?
15 black type wins this season, 2 million, I think it's over 2 million in domestic stakes. I mean, it's the number one stable that you want to be riding for at the moment this season.
And in terms of prepping horses, I mean, we've seen it with Dance 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 and, you know, the Gibbs combination up north. That's some feat to get a horse ready for that after 2 months off.
Almost arrogance, isn't it? 2 months after
Yeah.
the 2,000 guineas into a Group 1 at a mile, no barrier trial, and they knew he could just about win it, not at his peak.
Yeah,
He's a heck horse.
They were willing to declare in the morning on the radio that, you know, he wasn't quite there, but they were confident
Happy enough to run in a Group 1.
that they'd done enough work with him to win. So that it also must speak volumes for the ability of that horse, because as we've said before on this program, he's like, there's nothing to him. He's not flashy. He was cheap at the sales, but he's just got what it takes in the old ticker department.
Yeah, I'll take it.
100% ticker. Shall we see what Lisa Allpress and the Beaten Brigade, the ones that got closest behind a very impressive winner, a packed bunch in the Levin Classic, had to say?
I thought it was a very good run. He's a lovely horse. He's still learning his trade, so only things will get better for him as he learns a bit more.
No, he got on the three-wide train, coming around the corner, and he's really let down. He's wanted to lay in, he's wanted to lay out, he's ended up letting the winner out, but he's really found the line the last 50 metres.
Just a pretty unlucky run, Aidan. All day they've been winning on the fence or round about there, so I did elect to sort of stay in a bit coming around the corner, and the run was there to start with, and then yeah, the further we went, the gap closed up and we had to come to the outside, and it's definitely cost us winning. We had to come across 4 sets of heels, so went to the line without the stick even being placed on him, and he hit the line really well. He's a Group 1 horse in the making.
Yeah, I was happy enough with his run. We had a bit of an awkward alley, but he got back. He had to do a little bit of work to have a crack at them, and he's run home very well. He's entitled just to come to the end of it. The last little bit, having to do a bit of work coming into the straight just to get a run at them, but all in all, very happy with the horse's performance.
Yeah, terrific run. Just needed a little bit of luck on our side. He was travelling right to the corner. Just needed an Opie Bossum thing just to drop the bridle and so we can just give him a bit of a hip and shoulder and get the clear room in, but he was just travelling just as good as us, and he just kept us in a pocket, and that's typical Opie. So we just needed a little bit of luck, and he was genuinely, I think he was a first forward chance. So it got held up, made another run at them late, and was all over the back of the heels. So one to keep an eye on.
So that was interesting. I got a wee asterisk next to Arrogant running on quite nicely. Alicia, what else did you make of just in behind there?
I thought Hypnos was a massive run.
Yeah.
He got a little bit barged out when the winner came out, and he just imbalanced him a little bit. But I mean, that horse looking for 2,000 metres next start. He won an off track, so it shows he can go on it. I think he's got a stacks of ability.
More wonder in the Thornton Mile still in the nominations. I think he's about 18th on the list. Lincoln Falls, have one or two just got a click on him at the moment, you think? Or?
Possibly, yeah. They snicked him back again, so it's twice we've seen him ridden cold. So he's becoming very adaptable in his placement in the field. It looks like that Derby plan very much, just the way they're going back, getting him relaxed and letting him finish off.
Yeah, it looks like the filly, mate. They might have to regroup on that filly Espresso
The on
Martini.
paces were disappointing, given the time they had up front. Espresso Martini and Can't Stop the Feeling.
Yeah, it was,
and Crown Prosecutor was a bit plain late.
Yeah, the only one we didn't really mention, I suppose, was Vernon Me. He sort of lobbed a nice position and did what he probably needed to do.
Run great and going to love a trip.
Okay, so that's the Levin Classic wrapped up. The next one off the rank is probably the Trentham Stakes. We'll have a look at that next. And let's go to the start of this race. Well, in fact, we'll go to the home bend. And of course, before race, Steve McKee was basically saying for Consensus, the $500,000 plus Group 1 winning mare, it was D-Day. If she didn't perform today, she was probably for the retirement paddock. But as it turned out, they've probably got Sydney on the cards again come late summer, early autumn.
The centre of the racetrack, and then Animated Commander Lincoln. Here Consensus is kicking on the inside of Chance to Dance, lengthened to half away. Hank Moody's getting up on the inside as to Commander Lincoln, but she's back today. Have a look at her go. Consensus, brilliant. She blew them away by 4.
Barneswood Farm Trentham Stakes, and it's Chris Johnson, the magic man at his absolute best. Have a look at this run home, 33.62 in a 2100 metre race. They've come home faster than a slowly run Group 1 mile, so he really stole it off the front. Chance to Dance, the two horses that were really well rated under the conditions of the race were Chance to Dance and Consensus, and Chance to Dance just had to do too much work around this first bend. I still think he's just a little disappointing because he's going forward to sit handy in a very slow race. So even though he's covered a bit of ground early, I thought he was entitled to at least run second. Consensus still absolutely crawling in front. Hank Moody's run great. He's only a rating 69 horse in this Group 3, so he was 32 points wrong in the handicaps, out of the handicaps with Chance to Dance. So he might have a re-handicap coming after this. It'd be unfortunate given the size of the field, but that's the way it works. Consensus just jogging along in front.
Still dawdling there.
I bet you were wishing you were back on her at this stage.
Yeah, the way she had the ears prick going on the corner, just happy with her work.
It's a good sign, isn't it, when they put their ears up?
Have you ever ridden her in front?
A couple of times. We fired once in the Counties Cup, and then when I went to the Gold Coast, I rode her outside the leader there. Just a situation, I suppose they just told Chris to do whatever he feels most comfortable, and I bet you they're pretty happy right now that they led because she pulled quite hard last start and she was in front by herself and relaxing.
She was dominant. These run times, have a look at those run times down the side there. There was a real feeling that the track was playing on pace and inner. But just for those run times, it was making it impossible for closers. Look at race 2, 32.88. You just can't run them down when they're running those sort of times, Alicia.
No, you sort of need to make a good move from the 800 metres if you've got the horse underneath you, but there was no catching her once she was gone as well. She changed legs just before the line and she was pretty comfortable in her work.
So I'm happy to say with that track yesterday, it was more tempo related than track bias to leaders.
You'll be, gagging to get back on her, I suppose, but she was really a class above that field, wasn't she?
I mean,
and that counts for a lot in a race like that. You just can't run past the horse.
The last time she carried 53 was about 3 years ago, and that's a massive, massive bonus.
She's getting 2 kilos off a rating 69 horse that ran second, so I'm just not too sure where this race sits going forward in terms of good form.
I think it was an early call to say it was D-Day yesterday, because I suppose you get high expectations though, don't you?
Had to fire.
She always goes a couple of average races first up in her campaign, but then when she went to Wellington and didn't really quite improve, I think that's when they sort of thought maybe. But just showing that then, she looked beautiful. She stripped down fitter yesterday in the birdcage, so I think now she's on the right path, and being in Mare, they do that too.
And as we heard post-match from Steve McKee, they've actually got races like the Rambit Stakes back on the plan, Stan, after that performance yesterday.
Stephen, that's a really encouraging run. She's back in form, group winning form, and might give you just the inside, some sort of encouragement to do something more.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like I said, it was D-Day today, 53 on the back, and she's been putting herself handy enough to be able to run forward today where they've had to be, they've been winning on a speed, so it was a good one.
Set weights and penalties obviously really suit her. What do you do about now? I know you sort of probably hadn't looked too much beyond today.
Well, we did bring her in later this year because we wanted to possibly try Sydney again in autumn, so we were going there last year on the back of a solid campaign here, so we just wanted to keep her lighter through the summer. And, based on today, she's happy enough running a 2100. Might have a look at the race like the Ranvet or something again.
Okay, you'd formulated a plan to be on speed and be positive. It's obviously really paid off today.
Yeah, well, she was, she was handy in the Richhill Mile, probably too handy as the day, as that day worked. But, over 2100 today, she had a pretty cushy run down the back, and she's, had her ears pricked all the way.
Yeah, nice to see those good horses back in form.
Thanks, mate.
Chris, congratulations, a good positive ride, and she's responded in kind.
Yeah, I got instructions to go forward, probably lead, and she did the rest.
Yeah. What'd she feel like out there today?
Very good. She actually won with a bit in hand, I thought. They sort of, I don't think they were going too quick, but she won quite nicely.
Yeah, and good to see her back in that sort of form as well. Is she capable of getting back up to Group 1 level, do you think?
Yeah, I think so. Just being a year older this year, maybe it's taken her a wee while to come up, but she looks like she's back in form now.
No, it was a very nice run, especially leading forward to the Wellington Cup. Dropped a couple of kilos down to 53, and you couldn't, be happier with that run that he had today. Just cruised around there. He doesn't pull or anything. He's a lovely, relaxed horse, so I think the 3-2 will be no trouble for him.
Yeah, it was an honest run. He wanted to race over race a little bit the first half, but we come back to me halfway down the back, and they'll improve the run.
Happy with his run looking forward. Obviously, the step up in trip's going to help him a lot. He relaxed really nicely today, which I think is sometimes the key with him. He can get a little bit fired up, but any rain we get between now and then will help him. But all in all, I was really happy with this run.
Yeah, it's a good honest run, and getting up to the 2 miles of the Wellington Cup will be, appreciate that, and it's good honest run.
It was a good run. He was flat from the gates and ended up back last on the fence, and he had to come out to get a run. He hit the line well, and 2 mile next week should be his go.
They chased hard, and I suppose there was enough to like about the ones that got closest, the second and thirds going forward, you think?
Well, it's a traditional lead up to the Wellington Cup next week, and that's not going to be a deep race with the top rater currently at 92. So some of those, the high qualities, Hank Moody's are going to be a chance in a race like that.
A lot of early dollars for Hank Mooney. It was the best back runner in the race outside of consensus, and obviously finished accordingly. Okay, so that's the lead-up race to the big race, the Wellington Cup next week. Anniversary handicap. Well, it was a tighten up for at least half a dozen who are shaping up for the Thorndon Mile next week. And Hugo Foscolo turns for home in front. He gave it more jandle than a boy racer down Bearley Ave early on, and it started to tell at the top of the straight.
Ricoso on the outside, BV to Dolcetto, Supera getting up in behind these runners. Here it is, Hugo Foscolo on the inside. Supera starting to charge now. Windspell down the middle with Camino Ricoso, but Supera from Windspell, who's flying out wide, but down to the line. What a nice mare here. Supera beats Windspell. Camino Ricoso.
As we take a look at the replay, and this race was genuinely run with Hugo Foscolo leading freely in the Hickman Valachi Downs colours from the wide gate, crossed over and led at good tempo, got into his rhythm and really ran them along. He's finished back in 5th, so he might have just gone a tad quick looking at the closing sectional, 34.36. Eventual winner, Supera, settles 4 back. And Windspell in the pink goes to the rail at 3 back, just in front of it. And then this is a really interesting race to watch this footage of, because Windspell around the home turn, similar to Madison County, comes out. Supera chances the inside run. Windspell doesn't get room out wide. Supera chances that inside run and gets the winning of the race. Let's watch Windspell in those pink colours looking to angle out. Supera's waiting for the luck on the inside. And the seas opened up. I think Windspell had to come out. He was behind Camino Ricoso and Beefeater that wasn't carrying him anywhere. And just no run for Windspell. And look how it opens up on the fence for Supera. It's one of those decisions, Alicia. Sometimes it comes off, sometimes it doesn't. And Windspell on this occasion coming out held up for long enough as Supera gets that inside run.
Yeah, sometimes it's if you're lucky or if you're not lucky. And I mean, a Rosie situation then, you'd probably bow down to her and say that was a beautiful ride, but then you just...
Comes off, you're a genius?
Yes,
If
yeah.
it doesn't, you look like more wonder.
Do you sort of see it happening a wee bit, though?
You can predict what horses are in front of you and sort of, you get a guide of where they're about to go.
How they're cornering it, whether they're going to drift off.
How quick they went though, I would have been suspect with Hugo Foscolo coming back in my face a little bit, but he rolled out on the top of the corner, which really just opened up everything.
Okay, so at this stage of the day, there was a lot of talk about, it being a front-running bias track, and you were making comments that it was perhaps just tempo-related early in the day. Did you stick by that by the end of the day? Because they seem to be sort of mixing it up a wee bit in the later races.
Yeah, I just think the best horses on the day were actually winning, and at the start of the race, tempo was related.
Especially
they got some easy
races.
sectionals, and then they just kicked on, and it just made it impossible with the big open track getting out there.
Madison County's come from worse than midfield, Supera there from fullback defence.
So
and when Harry Settle came from last in the last race.
Sit, wait and sprint hard. That was the, probably not instructions, but the end game for Rosie Myers and co after the race to enjoy.
Yeah, really nicely bred one, like a sister, I think, to Eleonora, granddaughter of Ethereal. So to get a Group 3 here this afternoon, that's a really important win for her.
Yeah, it is. It's great on the page. She's obviously going to go on with it, so, fingers crossed she gets to where she should.
Yeah, and obviously encouraging with that Kalamazoo placing last time. Had you come here thinking it was a winnable race?
Yeah, well, the only horse we're ever scared of is her. So, we were coming with a bit of confidence.
Rosie had a handful of horse. She opted to stay to the inside, and at that time, it was just really whether the run was going to come for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I sort of looked around me. The jockeys around me, I didn't think they were going to give me much room, so stayed on the inside and hoped for a bit of luck. And luckily, I had the horse underneath me, and we got that luck.
Just tell us what sort of motor she's got.
Yeah, she's something. Sort of clicked her up the straight, and I thought, shit, hold on. But no, she's a serious horse.
Yeah, very good effort. He got a nice run up until the top of the straight there, and he's just had a bit of trouble getting clear, but once he did get clear, he's certainly let down very well, and it was a very good run from the horse.
Yeah, it was an honest run. He sort of felt like he was going to go up and win at the 200, but sort of just petered out the last little bit, but had the track on a fast pace and sort of dragged him up, so had a bit of merit to his run.
Yeah, it was right. Just balls up the start a little bit. Just got a bit awkward out of the gates, but I probably wouldn't have run him any different. But had to come back to the inside, and he's probably run onto his level, so it was a good run.
Really brave run from him. He's been posted 3 wide on the speed. I didn't sort of have the gas to go forward, and being a roll-on sort of type, I didn't see any point in pulling back to only chase him again. And 133 is a bit fast for him. Ideally, slow tracks right up his alley. I think he could also be looking for a trip this time in.
No, he jumped the ride, got on the trail, got on the back of Opie Bosson, followed him around, and just coming out the straight, just wanted to hang in, hang out. And he's probably just feeling the ground, just getting too firm for him, but he's really found the line nicely.
Well, the last 400 metres like that, Alicia, you get the feeling she might be quite a determined mare. Have you had much to do with her or seen her around the traps?
She looks like she's quite a quirky little horse. You could see her around the back of the barriers just having a little bit of a run round, thinking a little bit, but she pins the ears back and she really gets down to work the last little bit. And I mean, if you've got a mare like that, you really like that.
You got to calm them down though?
I give them a little pat sometimes.
Yeah. Severville fillies are a wee bit like that.
Can be quirky.
What else did we make of that race? I noticed in the Stipes report that Beefeater was vet checked and they found nothing wrong, and there was big expectations of him before the race. You go for Scolo, just the usual him. Actually, I reckon Magic Johnson might be good on him.
He might have gone a touch quick, but I don't think he needs an excuse these days.
Yeah. What else did you note there?
Colonel Kev's good, missed the kick.
Yep.
So he's run well.
I quite liked Lebaya, is it? The Roy Wilson horse coming on. I think Johnson sort of saved it for next time. I think it went for a run and was coming at them at the top of the straight. And the gap shut for it as well, and he just didn't sit up on it, but didn't give it a hard time. So it might be worth noting for next time. Other than that, I suppose that's a wrap on that race.
Move on, yeah. Dulcedo was caught wide, but I think he is obviously better with rain.
Thorndon Mile winner out of that, or not? She'd go close though, wouldn't she?
Yeah, she's flying. Like, the improvement in her, she's winning benchmark 72. She's come out, she's run out of her skin in a Group 2. A really good race every year, that Fillies and Mares race, the Cal Isuzu at Te Rapa. And then she stepped up again and set weights and penalties.
She could cope with a horse like On the Rocks, who's sort of the favourite at this stage.
Well, she's run time too. That's a really good time on the day, 1:33.4. So the figure's outstanding.
Shaping to be a good race, that Thorndon Mile next Saturday. Of course, Wellington Cup, Thorndon Mile, Telegraph, all coming up at Trentham next Saturday. But after the break, we're going to rewind back to a scintillating first race for the 2-year-olds at Trentham. Welcome back to Weigh In. We're going to crank up the communication technology shortly with a phone call into Jamie Richards and hopefully a link into the West Coast where Michael Guerin is standing by somewhere close to Kamara, but not quite. But first, let's go back to the second race, or rather the opening race at Trentham, the 2-year-old event. And of course, just a couple of weeks to go until the Karaka Millions, and spoiled for choice is probably the best way to describe the Tiaka stable, or the Jamie Richards stable anyway, in front with another 2-year-old, Opie Bosson, in those Cambridge stud colours nowadays, and the favourite, the Fugitive, going hammer and tongs with the eventual winner at the top of the straight.
On upper layer, and then over on the outside is Vistock, and we've got now on the inside Louis Luck. The Fugitive hasn't got him as yet. Upper layer getting through on the inside then of Amazing Team. It's Louis Luck in front from the Fugitive, and now Amazing Team getting going, but he's too quick here. Louis Luck wins, and wins very well.
Louis Luck, named after the Lindsay puppy, their dog Louis Luck, and he breaks through very well on debut. Early on in the day it was looked like on the fence, but that's so often the case with 2-year-olds. A 2-year-old that can lead on the fence is a huge advantage, Alicia.
Gives him 2 lengths.
Yeah, there you go. The Fugitive had his chance outside the lead. They haven't come home fast time. They haven't run an overall outstanding figure. He had a really big day out. It's first day for the Fugitive. I just wonder whether he might have just run a bit flat here. He wasn't the same horse we saw on debut, but stick with him. And amazing team, the filly working home in the blue colours. $3,900 purchase off Gavel House. And they're going to get well repaid because she really gets home hard the last bit of the race. But Louis Luck doing it all right on debut. And another good 2-year-old winner for Tiakau.
So a $105,000 yearling purchase in front and a $3,900 Gavel House filly running into third.
Bred by China Horse Club, and the first winner for Dissident is Louis Luck. By Dissident, the former very good racehorse, part owned by China Horse Club and out of a USA pedigree on the dam side, so some nice breeding there.
And as we mentioned, Jamie Richards is spoiled for choice when it comes to the 2-year-olds with just 2 weeks until the Karaka Million. And I suppose, Jamie, that's always the cunning plan, isn't it? To be spoiled for choice when it comes to this time of the 2-year-old racing season, isn't it?
It's always good to have a nice team of 2-year-olds around us, and Dave's really strong at the sales, so these are the sort of results that he's after, and thankfully we've had a little bit of luck this year.
Okay, flat out, no mucking around. Who's got the edge, you think, on your group?
Long term, probably it'll be a really exciting filly. She's going to develop into a lovely 3-year-old. Whether it's all just going to happen a little bit quick for, I'm not sure, but some of those geldings are smaller, nuggety, real 2-year-old types where she's got a bit of X factor for next year.
Jamie Bruce Sherwin here. With the 6 runners, it's looking like at this stage, I guess the big question is how are we juggling jockeys?
Jockeys will be determined after today. We'll just get through this 2-year-old race, and obviously Opie's there, a few of the other boys are there, Suffy's there.
Some talk of Australian jockeys?
Maybe we look to Australia.
Yeah.
Maybe we look to Australia, yeah.
And also, I guess in terms of today, how are those 2 horses looking for that lead-up race you've used so well previously, Your Deal and Probabeel? Also Chala.
They're in good order. We like to sort of try and qualify them early if we can, and then they've got the opportunity to have a little freshen. That does seem to work well. They'll tighten up nicely with today. Probabeel, we're saving the blinkers on purpose for a fortnight's time. I think that'll really help her. Your Deal, he's forward, he's come on in leaps and bounds. And Chala, he'll just be ridden for a little bit of cover today. He'll be a little bit vulnerable. He hasn't had a gallop or anything like that since he raced at Riccarton, so we'll just ride him for cover and let him just hopefully run out of 1,200 metres. He might just need everything to go his way to get 1,200, but we're going a bit more after today.
Just while we're sort of looking at things today, of course, Ellerslie racing today. Jamie, sort of Osman, thoughts? Generally?
Yeah, he's in good order. Just missed the race there on Boxing Day due to the wet track, the Newmarket. So we'll just get him to the 3-year-old races instead of giving him a hard one against the older horses first up. This will tighten him up nicely for the Mongolian Carn on Karaka Million night, and then hopefully, if he runs well, he'll go to Wait for Age at Te Rapa.
And I'm just glancing across at Bruce's note page, and he's got Melody Bell, ! So I guess that means how's she going? How's she going for her next project?
Yeah, she looks terrific. I was very impressed with the way that she worked yesterday morning. Jason's going to come over and gallop her on Tuesday, and we're full bore into the Telegraph, and really happy with her.
Okay, man, thanks for joining us today, and good luck with the Ellerslie feud this afternoon, and also sort of Osman. Let's have a look at the $1 million Karaka Million markets, the 2- and 3-year-old races. Whiskey Neat is the favourite still, $2.80. 3-year-old's not available apparently, but yesterday's winner Louis Luck at $9 now, so he's closed him pretty quickly. And on that, do you think he's right up there with the ART lads, which I've been really impressed with so far?
Has to improve a bit on his figures from Trentham there yesterday. So yeah, for me, it's a Whiskey Neat's probably too short at 2.8. Just barrier draws are so critical in this race, aren't they, Alicia? It's not necessarily the best horse wins the race.
I mean, you could have the best horse in the race and it could be drawn 16, but then it's got to cross 15 horses or past 15 horses at some point. So there's always that negative there. And yeah, I think nearly the inside barriers have been won in this race the past 3 years.
Big help at inside gate and soft run.
Who do you think's got the edge at this stage? Your Whiskey Neat?
Well, I'm looking forward to this race today. Probabeel, just the way it fits. So if Whiskey Neat draws bad and has to do some work, it could just set up for a closer. They're the two obvious for me.
Okay, thanks to Jamie Richards for joining us on Weigh In. Shortly after the break, we'll be catching up with a man at a moto, Kamara Almost, as we continue with our wrap on Trentham and now the Billboard race meeting for Heartland New Zealand Kamara yesterday on Weigh In.
Soaked up in my brain, don't know what to say, something about you, boy, you soak up.
Still there in the middle of horses now is trying to get through is Kaharau. Further back then as they swing for home, Flying Sardine, but Florence Ivy turns first. On the outside, Duffers Creek, Kaharau up the rail. Out deeper on the track is going to be Timmy Tyler. Getting through the Gordonian now. The Gordonian over Florence Ivy, out wide at Duffers Creek and over the top, over the river. The Gordonian over the river, nothing between them.
I still don't know who won that. A small field, but a huge finish for the time-honoured Kamara Gold Nuggets, and in the end it was the Meyer stable that picked up the race with Over the River. In front of a wow crowd, it was just the perfect end to a perfect race, I suppose, for what is just perfect racing when they get it off the ground, because of course it's sort of resurfaced after a couple of years underwater, Kamara.
Great day, isn't it? Like, 2 lengths first to last coming around the home turn. The entire field had a chance. The Gordonian dives through Over the River. Amazing. What a horse he is. 22nd win, close to 400,000 in prize money. He's run third in the Manawatu Cup, won the Greymouth Cup with 59.5. Now he goes on and wins the Kamara Gold Nuggets. Ran the trip out quite well.
I was going to say, it is easy to do another lap at Kamara, but he was certainly fairly keen to carry on with the job. The second horse went really well too, the Gordonian. It went second to him in the Greymouth Cup, and actually I thought he lost his whip at the 200, Krishna Madhu, and he looked like he was going to win. I wonder if that was a factor in the finish, because he's only been beaten.
It was a very good ride to get to that point,
yes,
because he ducked back in and then balanced and kept going.
And didn't lose any momentum, did he, as he sliced back through. It was a great finish.
Yeah, old horses doing the job and earning lots of money. There's a 9-year-old winner, a 10-year-old ran second, a couple of other 9-year-olds in behind.
It's good to see they're still doing the job, and they all look pretty comfortable and happy out there, so that's all that really matters, isn't it?
A great place to retire, the West Coast.
Yes.
How well's the rider going? Danielle Harini, we saw her before Christmas riding Dulcedo, the horse of Ashley Meadows so well, but she's also got a great strike rate on the coast. She said 15 rides there for 5 wins and 5 placings, and Mick caught up with her.
The next on the inside, Morse Code and Dynamic as they thunder around the turn. 250 to go, Prom Queen and Darcy Mack 2 lengths away. Is going to be Morse Code who's off the rail. Further back, Dynamic. Prom Queen's under siege from Darcy Mack. Darcy Mack and Prom Queen. Morse Code is out and coming as well. Morse Code getting up on the outside. Oh, photo finish again between Morse Code and Darcy Mack.
Well, the circuits are a big part of your life, but you must have a special place in your heart, Danielle, for Kamara.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this circuit is where it all started for me. I had my first winner at Reefton, and then I proceeded to ride a treble here at Kamara. So for me personally, winning the Nuggets was definitely on my bucket list, so I've ticked that one off, and I'm pretty happy about that.
When people think about Kamara and the West Coast in general, they don't think about coming from last to win races, and you've had to do it to win a big double today.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yes, River led up in the Reefton Cup the other day, and I jumped out the gates. He was a little bit slow away, and I looked him inside, and everyone was just digging for the lead, and I thought, oh, not today, boy, just let him settle in behind. And, you know, he's a magnificent horse, and he was definitely the best horse in the race with that weight. He sort of just was happy in his own work and let him do what he wanted to do.
Let's talk about circuits, because you spend time at Gisborne and you spend time at Marlborough, and obviously this part of the year you're down here on the West Coast. How important is it to your career? Would you have as busy a career, or would you have a career if you didn't have these circuits where you were able to ride a good book of rides all the time?
Look, I don't know. All of these circuits are sort of where it all began for me. It's really enjoyable. The people are down to earth. The atmosphere is great, and everyone has a good time. So.
What about the last race? You took out the sprint on Morse Code. Prom Queen's drawn the rail, jumps out well. I know the boys at Pitman told you to be patient, but it must be hard to be patient in a sprint race around Kamara.
Yes and no. I sort of jumped out the gates and put my horse in the race. They sort of wanted it to come back. I mean, there were only 5 in the race anyway. The 2 at the front sort of flattened each other early, and I was quite happy about that. Sort of just cruised up on the outside and passed. So, results.
What do you learn about riding on the circuits? You must have an array of horses to ride. There's some good ones, and there's ones which are probably, shall we say, a little bit more basic.
There's a lot to learn at the coast. Definitely turning the corners, one of them, because they're pretty tight tracks.
Danielle Hironi, who cut her teeth on the West Coast 3 years back when Mike Breslin took her there and gave her a bunch of rides, and she just kept on winning. And of course, she was one of the more pleased people for the Kumara races to be back on yesterday, winning the big double, both races, the Kumara Nuggets and the sprint with Morse Code. And I suppose in many ways the glamour horse racing there yesterday was Prom Queen, and she came up a wee bit short. And I think Kenny Ray was almost indicating there may be a few problems with her going forward.
Yeah, well, we're hearing that maybe wind issues with her, so that doesn't look good going forward. And there was a bit of pressure early. You've ridden her before, and she's better than that.
She is. I mean, she can normally run home in 33s, and she was just weakening to the line yesterday, and that was only, 11.50, so that's really not a good sign. She's normally up travelling and a couple lengths in front, so she's obviously not at her best, but I really hope that they can bring her back, because she's a handy little horse to have around at a meeting like that.
Yeah.
Well, they reckon the world's navigational systems are all up the wop and they're going to have to refix them, and I think there's proof of it today, because almost at Kumara, but not quite, is Michael Guerin. He's actually just down the road about, 25 k's northwest in a moto. How's it going, mate? How did it go yesterday?
Mate, on well, it was great yesterday, boys. A big hi to the team, and nice to have ABC in the studio with us. And I'm at a moto, and that's because almost every horse on the circuit is at a moto, as you can see behind me. Look at that. That's where they all stay. So we'll get that to the question later on about closing a moto, but it's a pretty special day, guys, and I suppose it's replicated around the country at Wakawaiti and Cromwell and all sorts of places. But when you get there, a town of a population of 309 people, and there would have been 8,000 or 9,000 there yesterday. And I know you've spoken about how Trentham, it's only the first day of their carnival, but not too many bothered to turn up there. You do start to scratch your head when you talk about country racing and all the people it exposes racing to in this country, people who probably wouldn't go to the races, and we are in danger of losing that exposure to a vast array of those tracks. So it was really interesting to be there yesterday and to see how enthusiastic people were. Obviously, Over the Rivers is a wonderful horse, and we enjoyed that, and you see a horse like Prom Queen turn up, and there's a little bit of glamour aspect to those things. But I spent a lot of yesterday talking to different trainers and jockeys and even people who are from Greymouth and from the regions, and saying, what does it mean to you to have these races here? And quite interesting how people were talking about, well, if it wasn't for this, I wouldn't be into racing, and I wouldn't be at the pub on Friday night, and I wouldn't have shares in horses. So there's a lot of factors that go into closing racetracks, and which communities you'll start to not lock people out of racing, but maybe diminish their overall interest. Most of us probably got into racing as kids. I did, on this track at a moto a long time ago. And if this wasn't here, would I have got involved? I don't know the answer to that question. Somebody who paid so much into the circuits, and somebody who economically the circuits mean a lot to, but he means a lot to the circuits as well, is Michael Pittman. So I tried to get to the bottom of it with him yesterday. Michael, we're sitting here on a lovely day at Kumara. There's a lot of talk about some tracks being closed. This is one that is not on the list. This West Coast circuit, could it survive with one track? Because it's kind of hard to have a circuit with only one track.
Honestly, I don't see how it can possibly survive, really. To start off here at Kumara, there's no facilities for equine or humans to stay overnight. And if they're talking about having a 2-day meeting, they've got to go off the property. So where do they go, if you close down the other tracks? So, yeah, look, I believe there are far too many racecourses in New Zealand, and which ones you close down, I don't know, but something has to be done, that's for sure.
You've been all over the bottom of the South Island and now, of course, to the West Coast. Do you have the knowledge to close these tracks, or does anybody have the knowledge to close these tracks? Because we seem to have a blueprint, and I think everybody agrees some need to be closed, but are we talking about closing the right ones?
Take it a step forward or a step backwards. About 5 years ago, the then Minister of Racing, I had a meeting with him. I came all the way up from Wakawaiti to have a meeting with him, and the first question he asked me, if you're starting with a blank canvas, how many racecourses would you have in the South Island? And to be honest, you'd probably only have 3 or 4. So how many do you need to close, But we haven't got a blank canvas. We've got historic. We've got clubs that townships have invested in as well. I mean, you start closing places like Reefton, you've virtually shutting the whole place down in regards to a lot of sporting activities, because the squash courts are there, the rugby field's there. I mean, it's not an easy fix.
You have owners all over the country, you have owners in Australia. Do you think places like the West Coast or some regions of Central Otago or the Deep South, you would lose owners if they didn't have the chance to race horses at their own tracks or close enough to their own hometowns?
I don't think we would. I don't think it would affect our business too much. I mean, you know, over recent years we haven't done the amount of travelling. I mean, this is the biggest team I've had here probably for 4 or 5 years here at Kamara. As you know, I don't go to Greymouth, and I've got a big team in at Hoki. But what a lot of people have to understand is that whilst there will be closures, the licences aren't being diminished. They'll just go somewhere else. So racing will carry on. Whether it carries on as popular in certain parts or not, well, it won't, obviously. I mean, if you close Reefton down, as I say, it's gone. If you close Greymouth, it's gone, you know, and you never ever really get it back. Nelson, very few owners come out of Nelson because they don't have races there at all. But personal level, probably wouldn't affect me a lot.
It is the question to be answered by somebody, and Michael Pittman probably has more answers than most, so he probably should be asked. And Michael, when the West Coast comes around, there's always a bit of drama, and yesterday we saw it at Kamara in front of the big crowd in race 2.
Yeah, we did. Unfortunately, that race was called off because Zubair Balar had a nasty fall. And what happened was he clipped heels and he hit the track pretty hard. The horse rolled on top of him. Now, he went to Greymouth Hospital and then he was flown last night to Christchurch Hospital for surgery. For those who don't know Zubair, I've never met him before, but I've found out more about him in the last 24 hours. He's 29 years old. He's from Mauritius. He's had his 6 winners here in New Zealand. He's had some winners overseas, including one of the bigger races in New Caledonia, of all places. Spoke to Steve Tyler this morning, and of course Steve he's indentured to, and he lives with Steve, and Steve said he's a great kid, we love him, the family's really upset. Here's his list of injuries as of this morning. It's quite a few, unfortunately. 3 fractures to his neck, but no spinal cord damage at this stage, which is obviously most important. He's able to move his limbs. Broken collarbone, the other shoulder is broken, the right shoulder, broken finger, which is probably the least of his concerns, and he's needed extensive facial surgery because he had a very large laceration down the side of his face to his chin. So, look, he's in a pretty bad way. It could have been a lot worse. He is able to talk as of this morning. With any head injury, there's always concerns. I'm talking to Steve this morning about the potential for damage to the brain or swelling, but he is able to talk, and they're going to operate on the shoulder once they're confident that they can put him under the anaesthetic and go from there. But able to talk, able to move his limbs, horrible experience for all involved, and it really took the air out of the balloon. The crowd were very quiet until they could see he was able to move, but we're hoping for the best for him heading forward. But the real concern amongst the jockeys' ranks and amongst Steve and his brother Kevin and people about Zubair was very palpable yesterday. So a day of celebration, great race day. That was the sad element to it. But the questions are asked, can you have a circuit with one racetrack because you need somewhere for the horses to stay? That's here. This is where they stay. This is where they come to the West Coast and stay. They're talking about closing this track. If you close this track, the circuit will disappear. Sean Clopworthy's over there. I said to Sean, what do you make of this? He said, well, I'm not coming here for one race meeting, or even 2 days at Kamara. You need to have at least 2 racetracks. So I'm not picking holes in the Masara report, but the idea of only having Kamara on the West Coast, just logistically, doesn't work. That's enough here from the West Coast, guys. I know you've got plenty more to talk about Ellerslie this afternoon. It's been nice to be home and plenty of people enjoying the circuit. It finishes here on Tuesday at Hokitika, the only right-handed track in the South Island. Enjoy the rest of the show, and looking forward to being back in the studio with you guys next week to talk about the Telegraph.
Thanks, Mick. Yeah, we can talk about the Premier Racing next week, and good to see you on your home territory. He was just telling us a story that, another true story from Mick, was that the year that Gurners Lane won the Melbourne Cup, he was at a moto, like he was there today, feeding the horses, and he got front-footed by a grey horse and it broke his arm. But he still managed to watch the Melbourne Cup that afternoon.
And his mum asked, how's the horse?
Yeah, scary story. As far as the West Coast goes, yes, it is a problem with the housing of the horses that go there. And I suppose on the other side of the question is that you've just got to have these race meetings because of all the people that go. is the number of horses that come from far afield. The Kevin Myers, the Tiders from down south, the Pittman from Christchurch. Everyone visits, but they don't seem to mind.
They enjoy taking a big team down there and winning the prize money that they do. They get looked after well at the meetings down there, so I can see why they want to do the trip, but will it really, be worth it if they do cut them down?
Yeah. You can see why they want to retain Kumara when they get a crowd like that, but obviously facilities in that area are required.
Certainly priceless day yesterday at Kumara for the Gold Nuggets, won by Over the River, and a big double for Danielle Hirani on the day. After the break, we go from the outback of New Zealand to the GC, where they had $10 million in races going round 4 yesterday on Magic Millions Day.
You just need to cool down. Yeah, sugar-coated, gold-plated, sugar-coated.
Nice bit of money. Benjamin Franklin's field, folded just for the thrill. Go numb until I can't feel. All might pop this pill. Stock market just crash. Now I'm just the bill. History don't repeat itself, it rhymes. 1929 steel. Right like Mark Twain. Jake Gatsby, I park things. Yellow cars, yellow gold like slick brick. Steel tip on 4 fours at the 4-0 with 4-0. Dollars fall on the skin. Some might call us in. Politicians all move for money. What the hell are we calling in?
We were just toting it up, over $10 million at Magic Millions Day on the Gold Coast yesterday. We had Godolphin, China Horse Club. They even loaded one up from a place called Glasshouse Mountain, wherever that is. So they come from all corners when there's $10 million in the kitty, and I think even your brother was riding there and he didn't know.
Yeah, he failed to mention that he was riding over there, and then I looked about 6 p.m. last night and he'd won one of the $1 million races on Egyptian Symbol, which was a fantastic ride. And I mean, it's not quite a Group 1, which is sad for him, but it's, yes, fantastic prize money.
Yeah, good percentage. And of course the mainstay of the whole week is the sales, Bruce. You've been keeping tabs?
Was over there for a couple of days. Massive week, record aggregate, 169 million changed hands.
Oh, really? Okay.
Clearance rate, 88%. Average was up 5%. Average price was $239,000, up 5%, and that was on a record last year. Medium remained the same though at $170,000. Very strong at the top 15, 20% of the catalogue. Bit patchy, $250,000 and below. So that's a little bit of a worry going forward. But just on that aggregate, 92% of that 169 million is domestic market.
To race in Australia?
Well, domestic buyers, Australian buyers.
Okay, how does that map for the sales coming up here?
Well, the New Zealand domestic market is terrible at the moment, and it's not underwriting the sales. So when you've got 92% buying the catalogue, that's a big help, and that's what we're missing.
So does that mean that they're not going to come over here and buy ours now?
Hope not.
Well, it's still our biggest market. Australian market underwrites our market at the moment. Big buyers at the sale, the usual suspects: Gay Waterhouse, Adrian Bott, 6.8 million. China Horse Club, Newgate, 5.3. James Herring, 5.2, and the Chris Waller Mulcaster team, 5.1. Cambridge Stud bought 6 lots, just around $1 million.
Okay, we're getting close to the end. Just time for some years or year nahs. You got some, Bruce?
Oh, where do we start? This fixed odds platform.
Go nah first.
That's my list of problems yesterday.
You know, you're supposed to have it on a device. No wonder you can't work the site.
Well, I couldn't use my device because the TAB app, the fixed odds betting platform was slow. Oh, geez, watch and bet. The quality's great, watch and bet. But it's 8 seconds in delay.
Okay.
And within running a huge growth area, no one's playing in running on New Zealand racing.
The reaction I got was anyone over 50 didn't like it, anyone under 40 had no problem with it. You better get positive. What's your year?
I'm 45, I'm in the middle.
Confused. What's your year?
My year for the week, Jerry Harvey, with what he's done with the Magic Millions. It was nearly bankrupt when he took over it, and he's got a stake here in New Zealand with Westbury Stud, but that Magic Millions sale's now the biggest in Australasia.
ABC?
Nah, for the week was Zabera. There's just too many race day falls at the moment that are happening. It's not something that you really want in this industry. So that's definitely the nah for the week. And the year would have to be Over the River. 22 wins.
Yeah.
That's massive.
Money spinner.
Yeah.
Extraordinary.
You'd love to own that horse.
You would. Well, my nah is don't let it be the last race meeting at Reefton on Wednesday for a couple of reasons. It's New Zealand's smallest track, which is reason enough to keep it. It's deceptively tractable, if you like. And also, I was at the races on Wednesday. This is the last race ever, possibly at Reefton, and there was a great crowd, a mix of locals, of Canterbury punters that had come over for the day, of tourists who were there for the racing circuit, and also meteorologically and also geographically, it's possibly a necessity on the West Coast circuit because it's away from the coast and it doesn't get the weather that some of the Greymouth, Hokitika and Kamara's cop. And my year is Magic Johnson. He's 55 years old, I think, and he still has few peers when it comes to being in form on race day. When he's in form, he's beautiful to watch. He did the job on Consensus, as we saw earlier, and I think only one rider would get the horse in the yellow colours up in race, I think 2 it was yesterday. Hugo the Boss, John Barry put him on because he's a horse that's hard to control. He wasn't particularly in control of him for the first 600 metres of the race. He sort of pulled outside the leader, but in the last 50 metres, it was classic Magic Johnson. And if you think he's over the hill, I think you're past it. Magic Johnson is still the man on Premier Days, especially on those big tracks. That's weigh-in for this week. Next week, we said, or as we said earlier, we've got the Wellington Cup, there's the Telegraph, the Thornton Mile, and we'll be back after all is said and done on Sunday next. Mā te wā.